Remember to subscribe and hit the notification button to keep up to date with our latest videos.
Alright folks, this is what we like to call a Mercedes AMG GT-S show car. Let's get that straight. This is a show car. It won a bunch of awards at SEMA 2016. It's been at many different car shows. Tire slippage there. It's been many different car shows over the past few years, and I'm so stoked to finally get behind the wheel of an AMG GT-S. It's been a long time coming. This is one of the very few new AMG models that I've had the privilege to get behind the wheel of. Now, I have not driven a new C63 AMG or AMG S, so this is kind of like just tossing me into the deep end, to be honest. And this car looks absolutely killer. But today we're just going to show you the ins and outs of what it takes to build an AMG GT-S show car, a wide body show car, with a wrap and everything, and actually run it on the street somewhat comfortably. I mean, the car rubs and stuff. So as far as the engine is concerned, I believe the only thing done to this car is an exhaust system. So obviously it does from the factory have the exhaust valves, but this is a full, I believe, avant-garde exhaust system in this car. It's not insanely loud. I mean, like, it's definitely loud enough when you have the windows down, but of course the AMG GT-S, this is not the GTR. So the GT-S it's a through and through GT car, really. It's like the top of the line AMG experience that you can just carry on for thousands and thousands of kilometers, or miles, I guess, we're in the States, without getting a sore back or anything like that, and to kind of surround you in a quiet, serene environment, right? So again, obviously a show car build with an exhaust kind of ruins that, but at the same time, there is no way that you can drive around LA without getting noticed in this car. I mean, it's a pink AMG GT-S. So this obviously, so under the hood is the AMG 4-liter twin-turbo V8 engine. So out with the old 6.2 a long time ago. That's old news, but it still stays in my mind because, well, it's an NA 6.2 liter AMG V8. But this 4-liter is definitely pushing boundaries in terms of turbo technology and the overall torque curve of a twin turbocharged modern engine. AMG's kind of pushing the boundaries. Now they put the turbos inside the V of the V8 to improve throttle response and to aid in cooling as well, right? So there's not so much strain on the turbochargers and associated parts. It's also, it's got some blow-off noises for us as well, which I'm definitely not going to complain about. So we've got individual settings here. Now I can actually adjust throttle response, engine, steering, suspension. Guys looking at me like, what are you doing up here in the canyons with a AMG GT-S show car? I couldn't tell you. This is just the LA experience. This is what it is. What LA has become in terms of modified car culture is a lot of get a wrap, get the craziest wrap you can possibly think of, along with a wide body if you can swing it, insane wheels, great fitment, and just kind of like stunt on other people and just like show up to car meets, and you've got the bigger balls, right? Because you've got the crazier wide body kit or the wrap. Wraps are a huge thing now in LA. There's not 20 million people in Vancouver, so you never have that. There's not many scenarios, or not as many scenarios where your paint will get nicked or anything like that. But up here in California, it is very much a status thing to have a bright colored car to show it off, which I think is cool. So this car definitely caught my attention when it first came out a number of years ago, and it took a while to grow on me stylistically, for sure. And some of you may hate me for this, but it's hard to remember, but the predecessor to this was the SLS AMG. One of the all-time greats. I think a fantastic looking car, a throwback to the 300 SL Gullwing, a piece in time, which now actually are going up in value, but that's besides the point. It had a lot to live up to. Now, to me, when I first started seeing these cars on the road, it didn't have that immediate striking appearance. Like when you see an SLS AMG on the road in a sea of like Toyota Corollas and stuff, hold on a second. Okay. In a sea of Toyota Corollas and stuff, it stands out. And I mean, it is a striking, menacing car. When I first started seeing this on the road, I was like, I couldn't tell. I thought it was maybe just an SL or something, you know, just from the front end, a stock AMG GT. Didn't really do much. But they definitely grew on me. I think it is a unreal, understated kind of GT car. It's not as look at me as a Vanquish or something like that, or the new DBS, but at the same time, it does have that aggressive AMG front end and a very sleek rear end to follow. And then, of course, you get into this car owned by Clyde at SMG Auto, and your jaw just hits the floor. I mean, if you wanted striking, this has got you covered on all bases as far as a striking-looking AMG GT-S is concerned. There's not much more that could be said or done to this car. One of my favorite things about this car is absolutely the interior. I think as far as a GT car goes, I mean, AMG honestly kind of nailed it with this one. The big thing is this car is so wide. It's not as wide as the SLS, but it's pretty wide as far as a cruiser kind of goes. So you and your passenger are like 2 feet apart from each other. You've got this huge carbon fiber center stack here and infotainment and everything. A little bit of storage, center console back here, and then of course you've got a proper hatchback trunk actually. But yeah, the interior is great. Yeah, it's got the Mercedes infotainment on the dash, which I'm not really a huge fan of, but it's not too intrusive into the actual experience of this car. And then you step outside of it and you're like, oh my God. So we've got, I mean, let's be honest, nearly 600 horsepower out of this AMG V8. Not quite, it is less than 600, but the way the turbos spool up, like I was saying about the torque curve, AMG kind of did this for a reason. They were like, okay, we hear you guys, the 6.2 is leaving, and a lot of you guys hate that, or maybe they don't. I don't even think AMG cares about the purists, to be honest. But at the same time, they were like, okay, we hear you, and we're going to make the torque curve as close as we can while still being efficient and fun, and make the turbos spool up at a insane rate of speed. So the torque is basically flat the entire way to the 7,000 RPM red line, and you feel it. I mean, this thing hauls ass. It's no Z06 in terms of power and straight line speed, but it's more than enough, and that's kind of why I picked this road, because it's quiet enough to where you can't really use all the power, and when you're exiting a corner and stuff, you're constantly in power and then braking and then in power, so it feels very quick, the initial kick. Visibility's not too bad. Transmission's pretty good. It's not PDK, a brand new 911, but honestly, you gotta give it to AMG for actually improving on the transmission tuning since like the first gen C63 AMG, or even like a later model 2012. Those are like pretty good, but they're still slow compared to today's dual clutch transmissions. And this is not a dual clutch, and it's comparable. You know, it definitely puts up a fight, and this car has aged brilliantly so far, I think. You know, it doesn't have any daring styling cues. It's not too insane, although I'm not the hugest fan of the stock rear end of this car. But again, a wrap and a body kit like this completely changed the look of this car to the point where this is kind of more aggressive and more insane than like a factory AMG GT-R, right? Thank you, Clyde at SMG, for letting me take your car out for the day. I cannot thank you enough so much. Definitely check out SMG and Clyde on Instagram and online as well. They've got some sick cars, and if you're looking for a car and you want to see what's up and you want to see what they do over there, definitely hit them up and hit Clyde up and see what he can do for you on that end. So here's the thing. Here's the reality that a lot of people won't tell you. A show car build is just that, a show car build. A lot of us car guys have this fantasy in our minds that you see these SEMA cars, or these cars that are just slammed in static ride heights like this car is. This is not on bags, you guys. This is a static ride. And you see it, and you would like to imagine in your head that a car like this is perfect to drive in the street, just as good as a stock OEM AMG GT. And honestly, you guys, it's just not the case. It's rubbing in these canyon roads. It's not made for mobbing around the canyons. That being said, we can still do it. It will still do it, and you'll have a lot of fun, and it's definitely a little bit stiffer than it is from the factory. But that's just the reality of the situation. Everything in life, like we can bullshit all you want with fancy camera angles and cinematics, and we'll make you feel this car as best as we can, but we can't, this isn't a movie. This isn't a movie car. Everything is not perfect. Everything is not perfect, and it is not a perfect world. Everything comes with some amount of sacrifice. That being said, I mean, this is one of my favorite cars I've ever driven up here in the Malibu Canyons. What a trip though. Steering needs to be a little bit heavier in my opinion. Sport Plus right now, it's a little bit light. Great visibility though. The hood, you're sitting very low in the car. You're like in a cockpit. It is amazing. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be bringing you a bunch more content from down here in LA. So we'll see you next time.